everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly. This is the show where I talk about the top 5 prog news headlines, give you guys some prog singles to check out, and also give you updates on the channel. So it's March 17th, 2023, and I've got quite an interesting list of news items. I didn't feel like there was any huge news things coming out, so I'm probably going to try to go through this fairly quickly, but still enough notable new things to talk about, and hopefully you guys enjoy some of the content here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I always encourage that. It would really help the channel, and of course, all of you loyal subscribers, thank you guys so much for your support and for all the likes and the comments, and all of that stuff is just so great, and I'm so grateful for it. You know, it helps the algorithm and all of that stuff, and helps my channel, so thank you guys for your support. And let's get into the news items this week. So at the top of the list, I always like to talk about some new prog and prog-related releases that have come out this weekend. So today we had the release of Redemption's new album, I Am the Storm. Redemption is a classic progressive metal band that have been around for quite some time. This features their singer Tom England, who came into the group, I believe, on their last record. So replacing Ray Alder, who was the original vocalist. But this is a really great progressive metal album, definitely fulfills that classic style, and so far listening to it, it's a really fun, cool project that has some epic pieces, some more lighter fare, but then some heavy-hitting shorter tracks as well. Just really runs the gamut of all you would expect from a band like Redemption, who've been one of the greats in the prog metal scene over the past while here. So an exciting new release. Also on the list of new releases, Kamelot's The Awakening. This is more of a symphonic power metal type project, but it features Tommy Karavik on vocals, who is of course also with Seventh Wonder. And he does a lot with Arion as well on the recent Arion albums. So definitely a notable figure in the community in progressive metal. But this is leaning more into that symphonic metal. Not really a band I follow too closely, but I saw that this was a new release, and I know people who like this style and genre will probably be excited. I believe it's more of a concept type record, definitely embracing that symphonic power metal type lane, and with some great vocals and some great musical chops. So that should be a really cool album and cool release to check out. And then we've got RPWL as well with their album Crime Scene that came out. It sounds like this is a concept album diving into some darker subject matters and some darker topics, but they're a band who really have that style like Pink Floyd, very atmospheric, really lighter progressive style that a lot of people really enjoy. They've had quite a good run, and this is just another reliable, good release from them. From what I've heard, I haven't heard the album yet, but so those are some of the newer releases that I thought were worth pointing out, and I'm sure there's others that other people can chime in and point out as well, but those were the ones that stood out as I was looking through some of the new releases. Item number 2 on my list, the Mars Volta announced a reimagined version of their latest album. So the album came out last year, a self-titled record from the Mars Volta, which came out to maybe some mixed reviews, at least in the prog community from what I heard. Some people really liked it. Some people were a bit disappointed by it because it didn't really harken back to their classic albums and that more chaotic progressive sound that they were known for from their early records. This was much more pop influence, really took root with their Latin roots and such to create some really interesting rhythms and beats and really good catchy melodies and hooks. But still, you know, it's not like this is super poppy. There's still their characteristic style and still some progressive influences in there to make it unique and interesting. So, but it sounds like they're working on a new version of the album. It says with the release of the album delayed until the band were able to tour again, he traveled to Puerto Rico, guitarist Omar Rodriguez Lopez, to work on this new version, a folk album, it seems, is what they're billing it as. So more of an acoustic, reimagined version, maybe leaning heavier into those roots of their, you know, these world music type roots from Caribbean sounds and Latin rhythms. So this could be a really interesting project, especially for those who liked that self-titled record. And so another version, another interesting way to explore this album and its expression. So this is going to be called Que Dios te maldiga mi corazón, scheduled to drop on April 21st. So pretty soon after the release of the album proper from last year. So interesting that they're turning this around fairly quickly, but it sounds like they had a lot of fun and that it should be an interesting reimagination of the album. So for those who liked it and who are interested in that sort of thing, that should be really cool. Also on the news item, number 3, is some canceled and postponed tours from some legendary prog acts. First, we have Yes, who announced they're postponing their upcoming Relayer tour. This is the 3rd time they've had to delay and postpone their tour, this time citing failure to get sufficient insurance to cover any COVID-related mishap. So that's kind of an unfortunate thing that they have to look out for because of the era we live in and that things could happen. And it just seems like it's too hard right now to be able to get the insurance they need to make this tour viable. So they're hoping to undertake the tour later in 2024. I was always interested to hear how the newer lineup of Yes would tackle something like Relayer, which is very complex and has a lot to it. But it would be cool to see their take on it and to see them perform this classic album. One of my favorite Yes albums, actually. So a little bummed to hear about that, but hopefully they'll be around in 2024 to resume this tour, to do it properly and with the ability to cover all of the costs and things of the tour. Camel also cancels their 2023 Europe and UK live dates. It seems like Andy Latimer, who's of course a guitarist and singer, is having to go through urgent back surgery, and the recovery is just not going to make it possible to do these tours. So that's an unfortunate consequence there. The statement the band made, it is with great sadness and regret that Camel Productions must announce the cancellation of Camel's 2023 tour. Shortly after rehearsals, Andrew Latimer became troubled by a sharp pain in his lower back that advanced into his leg and foot. He was sent for diagnostic tests, which quickly revealed a severe condition that requires urgent surgery. Recovery time is uncertain, and it is this uncertainty that prevents us looking at other options such as postponement. So unfortunately, that's what they have decided to do, is basically just cancel the tour because of this. So we'll see if something materializes in the future as a little bit of a makeup for this cancellation, but that's where it stands at the moment. Item number 4, I saw that Chris Squire's Fish Out of Water is going to get a new vinyl reissue. This is a really seminal classic album. Back in the days, the band basically, between albums, split off and did their own separate solo albums, and there was a lot of really cool material, and arguably for a lot of people this was probably the premium of those solo albums, was Chris Squire's Fish Out of Water. I know there's also, Elias of Sunhillow by John Anderson, which is beloved as well. So but this is a really cool album that showcases Chris Squire's talents and really almost is like a forgotten Yes album. It's just a really cool record that shows how integral Chris Squire's sound was to the band Yes. A little bit unfortunate that he didn't do more solo albums like this. This is kind of a one-of-a-kind type album, but it's very, very loved and revered in the prog community, and it seems it's going to get a reissue on vinyl by Esoteric Recordings on May 26th, which I don't have this yet on vinyl, so this is a perfect opportunity to pick it up, so I'm really excited about this prospect. This is just a really no-brainer prog release for all fans of great progressive rock, so just wanted to point that out as one of the items. And then item number 5, kind of transitioning into the prog singles list also, Einar Solberg shares a video for Uplifting new solo single A Beautiful Life from his upcoming record, album 16, which comes out on Inside Out on June 2nd. Einar Solberg is the frontman for the band Leprous, a very notable progressive metal band that a lot of people love, and it sounds like from the singles that are coming out and the reports of what's on the record that it's going to be a very diverse and interesting record. This track in particular is probably, at least Solberg is talking about it as the most accessible song on the record. This is one of the solo songs that he wrote and did on his own. A lot of the other tracks on the album are more collaborative. This track in particular, A Beautiful Life, features Agent Fresco's Keely Gudjonsson on drums, Tor Eagle Krieke on bass, Raphael Winroth Brown on cello, Bitney's Chris Baum on violin, and Ben Levin on guitar, and Magnus Bormark on guitar. So a cool lineup there of some really notable modern prog musicians. So really a cool single. I really enjoyed it. Einar's vocals are just really off the chart. He's able to go into these beautiful falsettos and just has such a range, and he's a really brilliant artist. So really excited about the album in whole and what all it will have on board. So that's our first prog single on the list. Put a bullet point next to that one. Second prog single, Big Big Train, released the Florentine Live and in the Netherlands from a September concert last year featuring Alberto Bravin. Really cool to see their modern-ish lineup, seeing them at work and how they're functioning in a live setting. So that's a really cool live concert film to check out. I have the link, of course, for all these in the description. Number 3 prog single, a band new to me at least, Asher. What the World Can't Give is the name of the single. It seems like their album just dropped. The album's called Beginnings. So please check out the album if you so desire. A prog rock quartet hailing from the US. The band features Doug Bowers on guitar, keys, bass, vocals, Blake Dickinson on rhythm guitar, Rob Perez on lead guitar, and Kyle Graves on vocals. So really cool, more modern prog stuff happening there. Some great keyboard work, some great guitar, and some great vocals. I think it's a really solid release that I wanted to bring some attention to. And then a couple of songs. I was really trying to search for some interesting things for the singles. I wasn't finding much, so these next two are maybe a little bit oddball in terms of what I usually focus on. But number 4 is Tame Impala, Wings of Time, and this is actually coming from the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves soundtrack. It's a movie that's coming out, very fantasy, action adventure inspired, based on Dungeons and Dragons. So this track was a little bit inspired by prog rock and more fantasy inspirations, like a lot of the classic prog rock was. I don't know if it's totally like over the top proggy like I was kind of hoping it would be. It's much more pop centric and a little bit of a rock bite to it, but I thought it was interesting, so I put it on the list there. And another interesting track, Nobody from Avenged Sevenfold, which is more of a heavier metal type act, but they dabble a little bit in this progressive metal space. They had Mike Portnoy filling in on one of their albums called Nightmare that I really enjoyed. And it sounds like they're really focusing on conceptual works and projects and doing things a bit more experimental and different. So I thought it was worth mentioning on a progressive rock style show. The video is really cool. It's a stop motion video. It seems like the new album is going to be featuring inspiration from the work of French philosopher and writer Albert Camus. So the lyrics are rooted in existentialism and absurdism. So there's a little bit of a conceptual feel, it seems. This is the follow-up to 2016's The Stage. Should be a cool album to look out for. I believe the album's called Life is But a Dream, coming out on June 2nd. So if you're interested in that type of lane, into that more alternative, heavier metal type style with a little bit of maybe some prog sprinklings and some conceptual nature, then that might be for you. So just a little bit of an interesting eclectic list, I thought. A little bit different than my typical, but I thought that was really fun. So that's basically what I have for you guys today on my New Music Weekly show. As for the channel itself, I did a review this week that I think is worth checking out. The reviews lately haven't been getting as much attention as I was hoping they would, but that's understandable. A lot of these artists are a little bit more obscure, so of course it's not going to quite garner the same attention as some of the bigger name prog acts, but that's fine. I'm trying to hopefully encourage the listeners to check out some new music that they may not be as familiar with. But the album review this week was for Zop and the album Dominion, a really great Canterbury style album, but with symphonic prog undertones. Reminds me almost of like Wobbler and what they do, a lot of instrumental cool stuff and some vintage prog instruments. I thought it was really cool, so please check out the review for that one. Really fun to talk about that. And I also did a vinyl haul video yesterday that was a lot of fun to showcase some of the new vinyl that I've picked up over the past several months. So those were the main videos that came out over this last week. Of course, I did a Jana Reacts last weekend for a classic Kansas song, Sparks of the Tempest, from Point of No Return, so that was really fun. And some fun shows coming up this week as well. I'm kind of billing it unofficially as a prog metal focused week because I'm doing a review of the new Ice Age album, a classic prog metal band that's been on a pretty long hiatus and is back in full force with a really cool proggy metal album that I really wanted to talk about. And then I'm going to do a top 5 about some of my top 5 favorite prog metal songs. So I thought that would be a fun pairing to talk about progressive metal and a bit about my journey with progressive metal. So hopefully that's to some interest to you guys out there. Should be pretty fun. And that's really what I've got going on the channel. So hopefully you guys are liking the content here. Please let me know in the comments. Of course, any like or subscription or comment and all of that stuff is very much appreciated. I love the community here, and I'm grateful for all of the kind comments you guys give constantly. So thank you guys for your support, and I hope to catch you guys in another video. Enjoy the music, everybody. Bye.